Hey guys, it's Ricky Cecchini, the VP of Product at Cloud Radio, continuing on our ServiceAI setup series. In the last video, we talked about setting up your PSA, making sure the sync worked, and bringing in some tickets. Now we're going to talk about exclusions, and it's better to handle these sooner than later, although technically you can do this whenever you want. So what are they and why are they needed? Well, like we saw last time, we started to hook up some tickets, and in my case, I run ConnectWise, which allows me a little bit of extra functionality. So I'm allowed to choose the boards or in Autotask the queues that I want to filter by. So a lot of the tickets that aren't really valuable for training, we can probably exclude because a lot of MSPs typically have automated alerts going to like an RMM alert board or a backup alert board or security threat alerts into a separate area. So it's a little bit easier to keep it clean. But what happens if, in my case, my Azure support board gets those alerts anyways? Or if you have a PSA that doesn't support those filters, that we just, don't have anything to really block them out in bulk? That's where exclusions come in. So exclusions are a way to omit the kind of junk tickets from even making their way in here. Now, I want to be crystal clear. Why are they junk? Are they problems themselves? Not really. What's happening is you ultimately want to use ServiceAI for good visibility across the service desk. And what typically tends to happen is the tickets that you have that are real between a client and an agent or a technician have a lot of meat. And the system is designed to handle those and score those appropriately. So those are what feed our dashboards, and they give us the best data both to train the AI and to assist technicians into getting the answers they need faster. Now, if I go into my own ticket view, and let's just take a look at an older ticket that I know has good data. So let's take a look at this computer won't start. This is an example of a legitimate ticket. The RPS is high. I can see that I have the agent RPS and the user RPS, and I can see that there's a real conversation. So this is what we do want to feed the AI and train on because it gives us the best reporting. Now, I don't really have any RMM tickets inside of my system, but I'll use this fictitious one called assistance. We'll pretend like it is an automated alert. Now, why do I say pretend? Because an automated alert might look a lot like this, where it may be something coming out of a system that sends a ticket to your board or queue or just PSA in general. And in general, ServiceAI is going to look at it and think of it kind of like it would at a user interaction. They're not going to be clear problems. They're going to be statements. And typically the technicians aren't going to respond to them like they would a user. They're not going to say thank you and please. They're going to either close them outright, leading to the AI assuming they didn't even bother to respond to a ticket, or they might put something even not professional. They might put something like closing or something else that, again, would be inappropriate for a human being, but totally fine for an automated alert. So it's not just about clearing up the tickets to make sure you get the best possible ones in here, and that's a big part of it. It's about not having those tickets kind of tank your overall score. So again, how do you handle these? Well, the system's pretty simple. You just go to your settings gear at the top, and you click on your exclusions button over here. And you can do a couple different types of exclusions that we'll talk about, the different use cases in different videos. Besides subject, which is the one we care about today, you can also exclude specific technicians from being scored and processed and specific companies. But for the sake of training, we want to exclude by subject. So again, you know how you get your automated alerts. They usually have standardized titles. So I'll pick on, let's say, a security alert from Huntress, right? So you might get something that says like Huntress alert, and then it might have a dash and then the client name, something like that. But in our case, this ignore field, this exclusion field, is a contains, meaning that we don't have to get the full name match. We just need the part that is repeated and everything. So Huntress alert like this might be good. Now, I've already had a test as an example. And what you'll see is that, as the text describes in here, it will go through and kind of strike them out. And after about a day, it takes about 24 hours, it'll go through and actually update them as not being scored, which again, kind of clears the junk out of your tickets. So holistically, from a strategy perspective, when you first get your tickets in, it's probably worth a look just to see if you have a lot of that junky ticket kind of filling up your queues or your ticket board. And my personal tip to make it even easier is, as you look at this, I like to add the AI ticket RPS column to the main view so you have an idea of the ones that are really outliers. And again, a lot of times those are going to be the ones that are the automated alerts. Sometimes they're legitimate tickets that merit your attention, but what you ultimately don't want, again, is to pollute this board full of low RPS scores, because the system will keep asking you to review them thinking that it's something worth your time when it's really not. So again, in these views, you can always edit it and add the RPS. It should be in here. You can shift it around or add it if you don't see it at all within the columns and kind of be on your way. But when you actually see it getting excluded, you'll see it stricken out like this. And then in my case, I just did this before the call, so it's got a red strike through. When it finishes processing properly, these will actually say not processed. And why that's important is, again, now you've got something that is acknowledged and visualized, however, it is not contributing to the main score. And that's really important to keeping your data clean and making it as actionable and valuable as possible. So the only downside to doing it later rather than sooner is that it kind of behaves a little bit like mailbox rules or Outlook rules, if you're familiar, which is if you've got 70,000 tickets and you start dropping exclusions all over the place, it's going to take for a little bit for the system to go through and strike them all out. Whereas if you do it when you have a small set, you kind of know what you're expecting. Doing it proactively ahead of time will kind of keep your data clean, and you don't have to wait for it to process and get you the new scores. It can kind of get the best scores off the bat as it builds up. Neither is a lose-lose scenario if you're watching this and you've already have your tickets synced up. Again, certainly still worth your time to do it. It's just a best practice to get it done while you're setting it up. So thanks guys, and in the following videos, we're going to look at setting up triage, and if triage isn't available, we can skip right to using the AI chat sandbox to benchmark and test our results now that our tickets are syncing. I'll see you guys for the next video.